For months now, we've been for like a year and a half, we've been making our way through Mark's gospel. And we're heading towards the conclusion here. We're in this section of Mark's gospel where the story just gets harder and harder, and it gets heavier and it gets sadder. In Mark 14, Jesus is in Jerusalem and he's with the disciples. He's just finished the Last Supper with them. He shared with them about a betrayal that's coming, and now he retreats with some of them to an olive grove, a place called Gethsemane. He's there to pray with them, and he's there just ahead of Judas' traitorous arrival. And it's a passage, truthfully, that we don't want to read because it seems to be like an intrusion into the private agony of Jesus. This place of prayer and agony and intimacy, this garden of private pain, it becomes the place of betrayal. Because betrayal often meets us in our most intimate of places. And so Judas meets Jesus there with a kiss and with armed guards. Pick up the story in Mark 14, verse 32. So they went to a place called Gethsemane. Jesus said to the disciples, "Sit here while I pray." Verse 33. He, Jesus, took Peter, James, and John along with him, and he began to be deeply distressed and troubled. "My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death," he said to them. "Stay here and keep watch." Jesus he's quite raw with his emotions in this moment. Distressed, troubled, overwhelmed, sorrow. These are the words that Mark uses to describe Jesus' state of mind and Jesus' state of heart. In the next verse, it actually says that Jesus fell down. He was so filled with sadness, he couldn't even walk. And Mark records all of this. Mark records the emotions of a very human Savior, feeling very human emotions. In the earliest days of the church, in like the 300s and 400s, there were skeptics and heretics that were uncomfortable with Jesus' display of doubt and Jesus' display of anguish. They wanted a stoic, unmoved, and unemotional Jesus. But that isn't the image that the gospel writers present. Rather, Jesus is full of emotion in this section. But it's not just in this section. The shortest verse of the Bible, John 11:35, Jesus wept at the death of his friend Lazarus. Luke 19, when Jesus approaches the city of Jerusalem, Luke writes that he saw the city and he wept over it. A few weeks ago, we looked at Mark 11. Jesus is hungry. He sees a fig tree. Doesn't have any fruit. He gets bad. He curses it. Like he's an emotional Savior that we're following. Jesus is full of emotions. Jesus is the God who can identify with you, with the emotional you, by the way. Because Jesus felt emotions, it's okay for us to feel emotions. The sad you, the angry you, the overwhelmed you, the disappointed you, the troubled you, the distressed you. God sees you and knows what it is to feel all the feelings of your feels and know the ones that you feel right now. Your emotions are godly. They are, can I even say this? They're divine even as they are human. And Jesus felt them all.